strength.
She was the greatest joy in my life.
This is Olivia Newton-John Celebrity Profile.
Life is a gift and enjoy every day.
Olivia Newton-John was born on September 26, 1948, in Cambridge, England. The youngest of 3 children, Olivia was raised in an academic household with a rich history of achievement.
My grandfather on my mother's side was Max Born, and he won the Nobel Prize for quantum physics in '52, I believe. He was a very close friend of Einstein, and my mother talks of being a child, and Einstein would come to the house and play music with my grandfather. My grandfather played wonderful piano, and Einstein, I believe, played a string instrument, and so they would play music.
Olivia's parents, Brindley and Irene, encouraged music around their own house. Olivia's older sister, Rona.
And our dad was very musical, so we used to kind of sing with him around the piano.
According to my mother, I always sang, and even as a little girl.
Olivia started singing and had enormous talent from a very young age. I mean, she could harmonize without being taught anything.
In 1953, Olivia's father, Brindley Newton-John, accepted a job in a country far from Olivia's birthplace.
And he was offered to be the dean, I guess you'd call it, of a college in Australia called Ormond College when he was 40. So he was actually the youngest dean of a college in Australian history. And so we moved from England to Australia with a whole family, my brother, my sister, and myself, on a ship. Arrived in Melbourne, I guess I was 5 years old.
Olivia flourished in Australia, but the family didn't. Olivia's parents divorced in 1959.
And I think I got a little distracted by all that. The emotional influence of that, I think, affected my concentration at school.
Olivia was not an A student, but even at a young age, she clearly demonstrated star potential.
I guess I was probably 10, and there was the love competition out there, they did then.
And I entered her in a Hayley Mills competition because she really looked like her at that time.
And my sister sent my photograph in, and I won it.
And that kind of, I don't know, kind of spurred her on to show business.
By the time Olivia was 14, it seemed she was on her way to a career in the spotlight.
I met some young girls of my own age, and we started singing together. And we formed a little group called the Soul Four, and we used to sing around Melbourne and sing in jazz clubs.
The Soul Four didn't last long.
My mother put an end to the girl group because she said it was taking away from my homework. What homework?
Still, Olivia didn't abandon performing. Olivia sang on weekends at a coffee shop in Melbourne owned by her brother-in-law. It was there that Olivia heard about a local competition.
Then there was another television show, talent show, called the Johnny O'Keefe Show.
I entered this singing contest that was on a national television show, and long story made short, I won it. And because I got a lot of publicity out of that, I was offered a lot of jobs. So I was offered a job on a daytime children's television show.
15-year-old Olivia jumped at the opportunity. The show was called Lovely Livy.
I had to be a hostess, I had to do commercials, I had to sing, we did music hall once a week, and we'd do one show live and tape one show for 2 days and then do one show live. I started off in my hometown and got accustomed to that kind of being known pretty well as a young girl.
After a year on Lovely Livy, Olivia appeared on a local game show where she met future music partners Pat and John Ferrer.
She was just like a little girl. She was only about 15. Cute little girl, but a little girl.
I entered this gong show kind of contest. Early in the morning, you would just show up and then you'd do some, perform something. And I sung Summertime, and I got 3 gongs instead of the hook.
She was very sweet, very kind of shy. I remember her going on the first time and standing there very stiff. She had always had a pretty voice.
Following her gong show appearance, Olivia was approached by a talent agent.
She called my mother and wanted to manage me, and this was a big shock to my mother, who said, no way. If anyone's going to manage her, I am. And that's really how the ball started rolling.
She had that special something, that Olivia and the camera and the voice, and it all went together.
Coming up, Olivia takes a chance on her career.
So she kind of took me by the ear and said, "You're going."
And later, Olivia's first taste of stardom.
Suddenly I heard that had caused this controversy in Nashville.
By 1965, 17-year-old Olivia Newton-John was an established singing star in Australia. The time was right to find a bigger audience. Olivia's mother realized there were more opportunities for her daughter in England, but Olivia was reluctant to take the leap.
My mother wanted me to go because she wanted me to go to RADA, which is the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, and study acting. I didn't want to go at all. I had a boyfriend in Melbourne, and I just wanted to stay in Melbourne, and I didn't want to go. She kind of took me by the ear and said, "You're going." And then after about 3 months, one of my friends, Pat Carroll, came over.
Pat Carroll was a successful singer in her own right. She signed with a talent agency in London and followed Olivia.
I met her at the airport, and she was going to stay one night with my mother and myself, and then they had found her an apartment or a hotel.
I moved into the hotel and stayed about an hour, hated it.
It was so horrible that she ended up moving in with me and Mum, totally. And we were in a one-bedroom apartment.
Pat and Olivia performed as solo artists at various clubs around London.
And one of our friends was in the Seekers at that time, and he said to us, "Well, why don't you just join up as a double act, just join up together, split the cost." She's always said that I should be splitting my fees with her now because she split hers with me then.
Olivia and Pat developed a song and dance routine.
We worked out, we took the charts that she had and we worked them into harmonies, and Pat was a dancer, so she taught me how to dance and do routines together. And that's how we started.
The girls were young and inexperienced, which provided some comical moments on stage.
Well, we rehearsed. We thought it would be really cute to have lots of great dance routines. So we sort of have 4 steps forward, 4 sides, a spin, a turn out this way, crossover. But we forgot to rehearse with the actual leads. We used Coca-Cola bottles in the apartment.
In those days, you had cords on your microphones. And we ended up totally twisted around one another because we were not used to that. She danced all the way around me because I was pretty much frozen and she was a dancer. So at the end of the first number, we were like this with a mic. So
we just laughed about it and put them down, and it was fine.
Olivia and Pat toured the United Kingdom from 1965 to 1967. During one show, they opened for the group The Shadows, and Olivia met musician Bruce Welch. The two began dating. In 1968, Pat's visa ran out, and she returned to Australia. 20-year-old Olivia was without her musical partner.
It was tough on both of us, really. We wanted to stay together, but she didn't want to stay in Australia. She was involved with a man in England, and so she had a life there. She's also English, so she was allowed to stay there, and I couldn't. So we had to part ways. Apart from our friendship, our act was really important to us, and we really were starting to do some really good things, and so that was disappointing.
in fact, when Pat was going back to Australia, I said to her, "You should go back and marry that guy, John. He's a really nice guy." And she did. So, no, we all knew each other from when we were really young. And so I stayed on in England.
Olivia continued performing in London as a solo artist. In 1969, record producer Don Kirshner was pitching a project and needed the perfect girl next door.
Don Kirshner, who put all the Monkees together, were looking to make a new group and put them in films, in a series of films instead of television.
Producer Don Kirshner.
And I went into an office in England. I saw Olivia in that office, and it was just magic. I just thought she was fabulous. And we hit it off, and I said, "I'd like you to be the star of my new movie."
I met them and was put into this group, and we made a movie. And it was a sci-fi musical. Very funny when I think about it now. And obviously, lots of money behind it.
In 1969, the film Tomorrow was released. It was a commercial disappointment.
The whole Tomorrow situation was an utter disaster. I never even saw the film.
Our film came out and it was terrible and absolutely died a death, and we were disbanded and let go. So that was, a disappointment, but another learning. I mean, all these things are part of your learning experience. I got to make a movie, I got to travel, I got to come to America, so there's always yin and yang in these things.
Later that year, Olivia's boyfriend, Bruce Welch, introduced her to singer Cliff Richard, who was looking for a duet partner.
so I kind of auditioned for him to do this song, and our voices went really well, and we recorded the B-side of one of his records.
Richard was impressed with the young performer and asked Olivia to join him on tour.
Cliff, Richard and I have a wonderful chemistry when we sing together.
The 1971 tour was a big success.
And then Cliff's manager, Peter Gormley, who's also an Aussie, wanted me to, record. So Bruce Welsh, who was my boyfriend, and John Farrar recorded me doing the Bob Dylan song. To be honest, I didn't really like it. I wasn't crazy about the song and didn't think I did a very good job on it.
The song, If Not For You, peaked at number 7 on the UK charts and became Olivia's first hit single.
I was wrong, and thank goodness Peter suggested that song for me, because I never would have picked it for myself.
To promote the single, 23-year-old Olivia made a series of appearances, including a guest spot on Cliff Richard's television show.
I ended up staying for the whole series. And Cliff was wonderful to me. I learnt so much from him about performing and about everything, really.
Cliff was a huge star, and it was quite something for her to be on the show with him. And he became a very good friend.
Olivia recorded a second single, Let Me Be There, in England. The song peaked at number 6 on the U.S. charts. But it was an encounter with another female performer that convinced Olivia to make a permanent move across the Atlantic.
Helen Reddy and her husband Jeff Wald, I went to see Helen performing in Florida. And she said to me, if you want to make it in this country, you really have to move here because you need to be available for the opportunities.
In 1974, Olivia ended her relationship with boyfriend Bruce Welch. The 26-year-old singer bought a one-way plane ticket to America.
And I was in a relationship that was not doing very well, and I thought, well, what have I got to lose? And I packed up and I moved to Los Angeles. And thank goodness I did. It was the best thing I ever did.
Coming up, Olivia is cast in the biggest role of her career.
I was 29, and I was really nervous that I would look too old.
And later,
I went through some terrified moments and some nights of terror.
In 1974, 26-year-old Olivia Newton-John decided to capitalize on the success of her popular single, Let Me Be There. Olivia packed her bags, purchased a one-way ticket from London to Los Angeles, and focused her attention on American audiences.
It's a little intimidating, but I don't know, I guess looking back, I wonder how I did it. I was in my early 20s, but I just did it. I remember I moved into the Sunset Marquee, and the first night I was there, I heard gunshots and sirens outside my door, and I walked outside, on the street, and I thought, what have I done? I was really scared.
Scared, but not daunted.
I went on a tour. I started touring. I got on this Greyhound bus and went around all these college campuses.
During the next several months, Olivia lived on the road. Let Me Be There remained on the U.S. pop charts for 14 weeks. The single also topped the country charts.
Yeah, interesting, isn't it? Because I was not even aware that country music was a separate thing, because my manager loved country music and thought my voice suited that style. He thought that folk and country were right for me, and it was right for my voice, and it really was the right choice.
Olivia made a new right choice when she returned to the studio to record a ballad that took her career to another level.
And I remember the take we used was the first take. I think I did 3 takes, and it was the first take. It was just one of those songs that, the song is wonderful.
In August 1974, I Honestly Love You became Olivia's first #1 single in the United States. Later that year, Olivia won the Top Female Vocalist Award from the Country Music Association.
I'd like to say a big hello to all of you in the heart of country music, especially tonight. Thank you all very much.
But the award came with a little conflict. Some artists and critics in Nashville dismissed Olivia's music as too pop. Since Olivia was on the road, she was unaware of the issue.
I heard that I'd caused this controversy in Nashville because I'd won a country and western favorite singer award or something, and they were very mad at me, and I didn't understand why, because I didn't even understand the separation between country music and other music.
Olivia shrugged off the controversy and won more accolades. She earned a Grammy for Record of the Year for I Honestly Love You. Olivia was firmly established as a top female artist.
I crossed over the idea that country music could be pop and country was like, I was one of the first people to do that.
Music producer and friend David Foster.
She was so beautiful, and the voice was so beautiful, I thought, this girl's a superstar.
By 1977, Olivia's wholesome good looks and beautiful voice caught the attention of people outside the music industry.
Helen Reddy again and her husband were my lucky charms there. They invited me for dinner one night. And Alan Carr, who was the producer of Grease, was at the dinner. He wanted to meet me. I didn't know that was why the dinner was happening.
Alan Carr offered Olivia the role of Sandy in the film version of the successful Broadway musical Grease. However, Olivia wasn't so sure.
Because I'd made Tomorrow, and Tomorrow was a disaster, and my musical career was just taking off. I had hit records, and I thought, I don't want to make another mistake, you know. So I was in two minds about doing it at all.
Grease director Randall Kleiser.
In this case, Olivia asked for the test because she wasn't sure whether it was going to work out, the chemistry with her and with me and with John, and also whether she felt she would look young enough to play a high school student.
I was worried at 29. I think, what was I worried about? Anyway, I was 29, worried about being 16 or 17. So I said, we better do the screen test and make sure that, you know, we look right together.
Olivia was a first choice for all of us, for Sandy.
So we did the screen test, and it was magic. We worked really well together, and I said, yeah, I'll do it.
John Travolta was cast opposite Olivia as greaser-turned-jock Danny Zuko. Travolta had just come off the successful film Saturday Night Fever. The two stars clicked immediately.
Well, I felt that we connected really well, and he was a sweet man, as he is, and made me feel very comfortable.
Coming up, Olivia causes another commotion.
It seems very tame now, but in the 80s and early 80s it was raunchy. And I got very nervous just before it came out.
And later...
It's devastating because you don't know what it means.
By 1977, Olivia Newton-John had several top 10 singles in the United States. Riding high on her musical success, Olivia was cast as Sandy, an innocent high school student turned vamp in the movie version of Grease.
I loved the idea that I could play the two parts. That was really a challenge.
Olivia took the role seriously, but it was her wardrobe that made an impression on the cast and crew. Co-star Didi Khan.
When Olivia wanted to try on her costume for, you know, sexy Sandy, she called it Sandy too, she did it the night we were filming the drive-in.
And I went out to show the director the outfit, and I walked out of the trailer and got such a response from the crew, who didn't know who I was.
All the crew and the guys said, "Who the hell is that? Ooh, look at that, hot mama."
And I didn't recognize her. She just looked like this very hot woman. And then I looked closer, and it was Olivia, and I went, wow, and that was the look we used.
When it came to filming the scene, Olivia ran into a small problem.
Olivia's pants were so tight, and they were so perfect, her shape. It was like, you know, she was poured into them. They put them on, and then they sewed her up.
It wasn't that I couldn't get into them. It was that they were very old, and the zip had gone on the side. And the only way for them to stay up, because the zip kept on doing it, was to stitch me in. So, needless to say, I didn't drink or eat for those 2 days. So I was in there, boy.